So encounter challenges work a little bit differently in the encounters of the Desert Perpetual raid that just came out. They're no longer like a rotating weekly challenge that gives you an extra chest at the end of the encounter, which I actually think is kind of a bummer. Instead, it's one of the feats you can put on the raid. So if you go to customize on the raid, there are a variety of feats you can choose from. Ones that limit the number of reses your team has, one that forces you to two-phase all the bosses, and the encounter challenge feat. The encounter challenge feat does add an additional stipulation to every single encounter, and if you fail one of them, it'll wipe you instantly and you'll just start back from the same checkpoint. Now, this doesn't really give you too much on its own. It gives you a little bit higher of a chance to get tier 2 loot. If you combine it with other feats, it gives you higher chances to get, or a guaranteed chance to get tier 2 loot. But I think most people are probably only going to do it a handful of times for the required triumph. As always, if I leave something out or new strategies are found, I will update the pinned comment below. So if you're having difficulty, make sure to check that. And if you find this useful, make sure to subscribe because we are on our way to 1 billion subscribers. But let's just go ahead and go over the 4 challenges because I think a lot of them are actually pretty fun. None of them are that annoying, and they give you unique perspectives on the encounters as always. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Hobgoblin boss, Agreos. This one is pretty simple. During this fight, there are a bunch of Minotaurs you kill, and they drop Chronons. The challenge is that every single person has to pick up a Chronon before someone picks up their second one. And then all 6 players have to pick up their second one before someone picks up their third one, and so on. There's not like a specific order, so you don't always have to go like player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but all 6 players have to pick up a Chronon before a single player picks up another Chronon. Now, this can get a tad confusing because, for instance, in the first wave of Minotaurs, only 5 spawn. So that means whenever you dunk the initial portals, you have to kill the additional Hydra, spawn the next Minotaurs for the running phase. Then you need to make sure the 6th and final person who did not pick up a Chronon in the first phase does in fact pick one up. This also means that during the runner phase, the 2 people who have the buffs need to pick up a Chronon, which they cannot deposit because it will kill them. So there are a lot of these kind of instances where you go into damage phase with 2 or 3 people holding a Chronon. That's totally fine. Just make sure you keep the cycle alive. We also had to reconfigure who was on the plates for the second phase because some people already had those Chronons left over from the previous phase, and they had to make sure that they could get rid of it and pick up another one, and you can only do that through dunking, and so you can't dunk if you're the runner. So essentially, there was a lot of careful coordination that went into, all right, who still has a Chronon? Who needs to bank it before we can go on to the next round, like we can all pick up our third ones, for instance. Overall, it wasn't so bad. One method that we tried that was pretty successful is whenever you picked up a Chronon, you put what number it was for you this run in chat. So like we started the encounter, we all picked up Chronons, we all typed 1s. Once we saw everyone had typed a 1, we could move on to our 2s. And so at that point, even through DPS, even through the running phase, we had a running tally of who still had to pick up a Chronon before we could pick up our next ones. I would recommend that strategy to everyone as well. Let's go ahead and move on to the Wyvern boss, Iatros. This one is super simple. When you're jumping up the platforms, a different person has to pick up the buff every single time. So there are 3 buffs. That means you're just going to send 3 people to jump up the platforms. Make sure you all pick up the buff on the ground plate. Then all 3 of you jump up on the first set of platforms. The first person picks up the first buff, and then they can just like go away. They go kill, Minotaurs and bank them in the hourglass, that sort of thing. Then you have the shooters spawn the second set of platforms. The 2 remaining people jump up. One of them picks up the buff and then can go also leave and kill Minotaurs or whatever. And then the final person picks up the final buff. This is super simple. It's an easy 2-phase. This should not take you a lot of time at all. Now we'll move on to the third boss, Apoptes, the Hydra boss. This one also pretty simple. It can get a little hectic though. This challenge is that you have to have 2 people in both eye rooms alternate who is shooting. So let's say in room 1 from this POV, this is actually my friend Hoon's POV. Thank you, Hoon, for sending me this footage. But for the context of this, let's just pretend it's me and Babs is in the room with me. So whenever we do callouts, I'll do my callout and then I'll receive a callout and I'll shoot my first eye. Then I'll do the second call out. The second person in the other room will shoot that eye. We'll get our second call out back for us, and Babs will shoot that one. So it'll kind of go player 1 on the right, player 2 on the left, player 3 on the right, player 4 on the left, player 1 on the right, and then you'll just go back and forth like that, where you're constantly alternating who's shooting the eyes. So just for clarity, in my room, it'll be I shoot an eye, and then Bab shoots an eye, and then I shoot an eye, and then Bab shoots an eye. It doesn't seem that you have to alternate who shoots the one that wipes you, and it doesn't seem like it matters anything on the outside either. It just seems to be you have to alternate the 6 eyes on the boss's shield with the 2 people in the room. Not so bad either. Now let's go ahead and talk about Korygos, the final Harpy boss. This one, once again, fairly simple. The execution can get a little hectic though, but you have plenty of time in this encounter. Every single person needs to dunk one of the 6 hourglass buffs. This is a pretty fun challenge because essentially you will be doing every role in this encounter in one run, which is pretty fun. Now, I know most people stand 3-1-2 on the plates. Throw that out for this challenge. Go ahead and stand 2-2-2. You're going to get 2 cyclical, 2 contact, 2 absolute. And then once you do a whole phase, so let's say like you have the 2 stunners on the left, they stun the boss, one of them calls out the, the correct mind colors, and then 2 people get them and dunk them. Then rotate 1 plate to the right. So 2-2-2. If you're on the far right, you'll go back to the left plate, and you just rotate rolls. You have plenty of time. I would say the one hard part about this challenge is the buff timer. Your buff timer seems to just carry over. So even if you have left plate and then you guys rotate and you take the center plate, even though the name of your buff will change, it seems that the time that you have remaining on your buff stays the same. So if you're on the far left plates, make sure you are stunning right before you do the plate rotation and you switch buffs. That's my main tip. Other than that, take it slow and clear comms. It shouldn't be that difficult and will probably only take you a couple of tries. It's a very fun challenge. So once you do all that, you get your triumph, you get your chance at tier 2 loot every time you are completing one of these encounters. And, it's fun. I think this will be fun as you start to stack like even more and more and more feats, but that's something we'll have to deal with after GCX because I'm gone for the remainder of the week. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. If you found this useful, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.